This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Allen. Canada is undergoing a demographic transformation like no other in its history. In 2023 alone, Canada admitted over 1.25 million immigrants, the highest annual intake ever recorded, pushing our population past 40 million. Immigration now accounts for nearly 98% of our population growth. At this rate, projections suggest that by 2030, more than 1 in 4 Canadians will be foreign born. Yet, as these numbers surge, critical questions are being ignored. What does this unprecedented influx mean for Canadian identity, culture, and national sovereignty? Author Patrick Keeney argues that this mass migration is not just a demographic phenomenon, but a fundamental challenge to the idea of Canada as a cohesive nation. He warns that without a shared sense of history and mutual obligation, we risk becoming a fragmented society, a collection of individuals with little sense or common purpose or belonging. Well, tonight we pose these difficult questions. How do we balance compassion with the need for social cohesion? Can Canada sustain its founding values amidst such rapid change? And what does sovereignty mean in an age of mass migration? Again, joining us is Dr. Patrick Keeney, author of the third installment of the C2C Journal's Restoring Canada special series titled National Sovereignty in the Age of Mass Migration. Dr. Keeney, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
So I think the numbers may shock some of our viewers, but it's true. Canada admitted 1.25 million immigrants in just 1 year. So that is making immigration responsible for nearly all of our population growth. What do you feel are the biggest challenges to this kind of rapid demographic shift? And how does that threaten, or what kind of challenges does that pose to national unity?
Well, I think there's some rather obvious effects of this kind of radical immigration experiment, is what I called it in the C2C piece. I think we have to concede that Canada has never undergone such massive numbers of immigrants. So the obvious kinds of effects are our healthcare system is under strain. It's been under strain for at least a decade. And I think we all have stories of friends or relatives in emergency rooms. The cost of housing has spiraled. I think in Vancouver, the average single family residence is in excess of $1 million,
Mhm.
which effectively prices out young families, indeed middle class people. Uh, I think the cost of a one bedroom apartment, the average cost in Toronto, the last number I saw was about $2,500. So those are enormous strains on our infrastructure. But I think beyond that, there is a kind of more profound crisis, which is cultural. And we seem to have adopted a view of citizenship, which is kind of transactional. It's no more than rights-bearing individuals who occupy a similar or cohabit a similar kind of space. So I think what we need to do is perhaps take a step back and ask ourselves, what is the Canadian story? I mean, we have politicians who have for some time now told us that there is no such thing as a Canadian, or that Canada is the first post-national state. So I think we need to have some kind of cultural confidence to allow in these numbers of immigrants.
Well, and I think especially when we saw even former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau kind of scale back the number of foreign students who were studying here amid a lot of cries of places being taken in terms of in
Mhm.
academic institutions. Beyond that, also housing. Obviously, housing is a big one. Where when these students who legally obtain their student visa to come study and find out, oh gosh, I'm homeless because it's too expensive to live here. There are two sides to that.
Mhm.
Um, so do you feel that we're on the precipice of having that conversation? Are people sort of waking up and saying, hey, this is different?
Yeah, I think so. I think, we run the risk in Canada of having the ability to culturally absorb our immigrants being outpaced by the speed and scale of demographic change. And when a country loses the ability to clearly articulate its core values, let alone transmit those values, the process of integration begins to falter. I think anyone who looks at immigration does believe that we need to integrate
Right.
the new Canadians into the Canadian family, but there are obviously limits to how far any nation can do that.